All right. Welcome back to another Elevated Marketing podcast, where we simplify digital marketing topics to help your business grow. We are so close to the holidays, and you were like, we should wear like Christmas like stuff. And I was like, I don't really have that. I don't have bright red in my closet. Green is the closest I'm going to get. I don't have holiday sweaters. Like, that's just not my style. Do you have this
I
in your closet?
I do. And in fact, my friend and we made some custom Christmas crew necks. Um, and so
Yeah.
I am a sucker for that.
I should have thought that you already had that. Okay, well, today we're going to talk about, the benefits of hiring a social media company for your business. This can come from the perspective of maybe you don't do social media at all, or maybe you're already doing it, but you don't feel like you're quite doing it well. So we're going to kind of talk about like how it could actually benefit you. But being that we're this close to the holidays and, we have to know, Brenna, what is your favorite holiday movie? Like, you have to watch it every year. It's there.
That is a really tough one, but
Are you
hands
one to
down.
watch holiday shows over and over? Do you do that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like on
Okay.
a weekly basis, probably.
That's why this is
Yeah.
tough, because you're like, we're all
I know.
good.
I think hands down though, my like all-time favorite is Elf. I love it. I always have.
Mm-hmm. That I think our choices are going to be very generational then, because you're choosing the movie that came out during your generation, and I'm going to choose the movie that came out during my generation. So mine's got to be the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and
So
that came out in my era. So
yeah,
it brings
yeah.
back those childhood memories. That's probably what Elf does for you. Like, oh, I remember
Oh,
seeing that as a kid.
definitely. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, National Lampoon, definitely a classic. Like,
It's a classic. All of the ones that are in that series are classics. I love
yes.
them. Okay, so let's talk about like a social media company, and you can call it a company, you can call it a social media agency, but I think when you're considering whether or not you need to hire one, there's distinct reasons that make that a good idea. And so you got to think about, like, do I actually need that? And I think the first thing that comes to mind for me is that a social media company has expertise and experience. If anybody can make a post, like anybody. We can all like consistently be like posting, but a social media company, has experience in like crafting messages that are, tailored to not only your industry, but to the audience that you're trying to talk to. And they have that like marketing brain that maybe, the person in your office that you assign to make social media posts, sure, they're posting, but they're not posting from that expertise of, what's going to work and not work, and like get that maximum like engagement and reach. And they're not thinking about it from a marketing perspective, because they're not a marketer.
Mhm. Yeah, and with that comes, I mean, social media marketing companies or agencies, being that we've been in the game, we know maybe which KPIs or key performance indicators that we're going after. So that's going to tailor our messaging.
Mm-hmm.
And, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself there, but I mean, yeah.
Well, it's going to tailor your strategies
Yeah.
because we're absorbed in this industry, and so it's our job to stay up to date with what works and what doesn't work. And so that's what you get when you hire a company is that expertise.
Yeah.
You know, there's different trends and things that happen in social media. I think we're all past the stage of, yeah, I need to post often. Well, some of us are.
Yeah.
But what specifically are the best practices that are going to actually get results? Somebody that does this for a living day in and day out, they're going to know what the algorithms need in order to
Mhm.
be effective.
Yeah. And just as with anything else really in this world is things change and sometimes they change rapidly.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we can stay up to date with current trends and help decide if it's maybe a trend that's suitable for you. Or again, with the algorithm has changed drastically, I would say, in the past couple of years. And so, like you're saying, just staying up to date with all of that and learning to work with rather than against these changes.
Yeah, you have to consider that. Just going back to what I was saying, like, it's not just about, I see sometimes people will be like, well, I post all the time and it's just not, and I don't get anything out of it. There's no value out of it. And it's probably because you're not either talking to your industry or your audience, like, particularly, or you don't have the right type of content that you're putting out, or you're not following to the algorithms. Like, there's something there, and you can't just dismiss that social media doesn't work. It's just that you don't have the expertise that somebody that does this day in and day out
Yeah,
have.
for sure. I think with that too kind of comes with the consistency or the time efficiency
Yeah,
that comes with the social media agency. And being, again, we've been in the game, we know how to stay consistent, but directing that attention, if we have that role, directing that attention to your social media, maybe rather than someone in-house that has multiple roles, just helping provide that consistency within social media.
or I mean, if you are the business owner or you're higher up or something, it's going to free up your time
Yeah.
to concentrate on things that only you can do. If you're doing things that an expert should be doing, then you are taking up valuable time that you need to be concentrating on your own business. Or if you like had somebody in house and they're not normally a social media expert, and you're just having them do that to add on, well, what are you taking them away from? Like, what
Mhm.
efficiency? And then the other element I think about is just because we do this day in and day out, we ourselves are very efficient at doing it because that's what we do all day.
Mhm.
We
Yeah.
know how to be efficient and get it done quicker and get it done right.
Mhm. That's, yeah, get it done right is the key.
Yeah. Uh, you know, because we do this for so many people too, like, we also have access to a lot of tools and analytic tools that you wouldn't necessarily have access to, because sure, you can buy it, but it doesn't make sense for you to buy it for one company for one situation, whereas it's efficient with dollars when a social media company has it because they need it for so many different people. You're
Mhm.
just buying it for one individual.
Yeah. Well, and I think with that too is, sure, like you're saying, you can buy those tools, but it's also knowing what to look for. A lot of times these tools are not
Yeah.
necessarily easy to navigate as maybe a newcomer. And so, having that access and that expertise, like we keep mentioning, it definitely
Metrics
sets it apart. Yeah.
change for sure. Like, there's different metrics and different time of my being in this industry where this metric mattered then, and then it didn't matter as much before. And so that's another benefit of working with someone that's in the industry because they know that.
Mm-hmm. For
Um,
sure. There also comes, and we've touched on this a little bit, but the development of a content strategy within your social media.
yeah,
Um, you know, different platforms are going to have different audiences. We know that. That's going to require different forms or pieces of content, different information.
yeah,
Um, and so developing that strategy, not only to put that on a consistent basis, but to speak to the right audience. uh,
with
That's
the
also,
right type of graphic, with the right type of format, like
yeah.
all of those different like creation of content is another thing that does take time. And
Mhm.
if you're just posting to post, then that's probably where you're not getting anywhere because you're using different things.
Yeah,
That kind of makes me think about like just the consistency of a brand voice and message.
for sure.
um, Not everybody thinks about that because they're not even sure what their brand voice and messaging is, and they might not have one. And
Yeah.
so a social media company could help you develop like what that is, what your voice is, and what your messaging is, so that you actually do stand out. Because if you're just like selling, like we have a client I'm thinking of right now where they're selling a product that a lot of people sell,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not different than other people. So our job is to develop like how they are different and what their voice and messaging is, so that we can have them stand out and people actually choose them versus the 50 million other choices that are available.
Yeah. Well, and again, there's time involved with bringing that competitive edge and remaining competitive, even in social media. I mean, we can monitor what competitors are doing, but that's also going to help us set ourselves apart with our brand voice and messaging that, we're trying to display.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Not all social media companies, but I know I'll just speak about us, particularly is, integrating with your other marketing that you
Mhm.
need to be doing. And so I don't want to speak against, hiring a social media company that just does social media, because they could be good at integrating with other marketing, but they could also not be good and be siloed. So, for me, I like when you have kind of this company that does multiple things, because they're able to integrate and create efficiencies with all of it moving in the same direction instead of things kind of being siloed.
Mhm.
So I'm of the nature that when you get too niche in one area or another, you forget about how it all works together.
Yeah. And that's such an important piece of it. It all works together all across different platforms, different formats, and that, again, the development of that content strategy and keeping things together,
Yeah, yeah.
you
At
know.
the end of the day, if you're hiring a marketer, a good marketer,
Yeah.
they can do multiple things because they
Yeah.
understand the basics of marketing, and
Yeah.
they understand all of that and how to, it then it becomes a matter of, are they keeping up with the trends and the algorithms, in that specific area. And if they're not, then they're not a good marketer. So for me,
Mhm.
it like kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. And I think along with that too, it allows you to kind of scale your efforts. Depending on where you're at in the digital marketing landscape, if you nail one aspect down, then you can kind of scale and be like, all right, let's nail this aspect down and nail this aspect down. I think sometimes people come into this when they're brand new and be like, well, I want everything, all of it, like right now.
Yeah. Don't we all?
Yeah, it's like building a business offline. You need to do the same thing online.
Mhm. Yeah.
Rebuild it.
This I mean, it kinda ties in with, like, the time efficiency and maybe even the delegation of a business owner, but just more cost effective in the sense that you're not taking resources away from your in-house roles,
Hmm.
and, time is money. We all know that, and so as a social wow, words are hard. Social media marketing agency, just kind of taking that time off of your hands. Um,
Yeah,
and
they're gonna deliver that professional like results without the overhead that if you had somebody completely in house. Because if you also think about that, like when you do hire in house, then you need a unicorn.
Mhm.
You need someone that is good at social media and email marketing and blah 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 and run it down the line, and that is where it's not as cost effective, because somebody who's good at all of those things is
Mhm.
not going to be inexpensive. So it
Yeah.
allows you to kind of be able to outsource part of that, at the fraction of cost. Or the other way I look at it is maybe you have somebody in house and they're good at XYZ, but the A part of social media, they're not as good. So, you just hire that one aspect, to fulfill that and have them still run, their aspects. That's a good way to be efficient as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something else that comes with the social media agency is being able to report on the data that we're seeing, but reporting it to where it makes sense to the business or the business owner,
Yep.
and just being able to have conversations about what it means and why we're doing what we're doing or why something didn't work.
Yep.
The
And what
list
you're
goes
going
on.
to do about it, like
Yeah.
they're held accountable.
Yeah.
When you have somebody in house, it's not that they're not held accountable, but somebody who is, when you're hiring a partner and a different company, like they know they can be fired,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, much more easily than somebody in house. If they don't do a good job, then you're not going to use them anymore. So,
Mhm.
I it, to me, I guess I'm just in the industry, so I think hiring somebody to do something that they're really good at makes a heck of a lot of sense to take a lot of the weight off of yourself. So,
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I'll throw our name in the hat. Elevated Marketing Solutions. If you need a company to handle organic social media or paid social media for that matter,
Mhm.
we got you covered.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thanks for listening today, guys. Certainly hit that subscribe, or subscribe to the podcast if you're listening to it on that way as well. And then we also have our newsletters. So, all right, guys, take care.